Hey everyone, Jefferson Graham here with the PhotoWalks TV podcast, and today we are going to Heber Valley, Utah. Heber Valley is one of the great spots in northern Utah. If you've been to Park City, you might have passed through Heber. A highway runs through it, actually. Route 40 runs right through the center of town, and the trick is getting off Highway 40 and checking out some of the great back streets. Heber Valley is the sort of brand name for Heber City, which is the town of about 17,000, and Midway, the historic Swiss village of Midway, which is about 3 miles away. Then you've got Deer Creek, you've got Charleston, you've got a whole bunch of other little towns. It's a photo paradise. It's a really fun place to be, particularly in the summer. Again, Park City in the north and Zion in the south, they get the lion's share of attention. But Heber Valley is worth checking out. If you've never been there, it has so much to offer. It is the location for the latest episode, which you can see on YouTube at youtube.com/PhotoWalksTV. But I'd like to tell you all about it if you're listening today. So whether you're capturing the quaint Swiss architecture or sweeping views from Memorial Hill in Midway, the great residential and farming backroads of Heber, or the serene reflections at Deer Creek, I know I say this all the time, but almost every corner of this valley is picture perfect. It's why I decided to bring the PhotoWalks TV cameras to the valley to share my love of the place with you. So watch the video and then listen. I've got a whole bunch of ideas for things that you can do. Again, Heber is right in between Park City and Sundance, 20-minute drive south from Salt Lake City, probably about a half hour up the road from Provo, and 4 hours north from St. George in the south. And note that when you are in the Heber Valley, you are in the heart of LDS country, which stands for the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. And many of the businesses that I will mention are closed on Sundays. All right. So let's talk about what to do. I'm going to give you a little itinerary here. I'm going to start your morning early, maybe around 6:30 or 7 in the Deer Creek Reservoir. You get there by turning left at the intersection in Midway and just drive a little bit until you find a spot to pull over. You will find many. Early mornings are the best for photographing the great reflection of Mount Temp in the water. And that's why I say pull over, because there's so many opportunities, so many options, different places you can go. It's all there on that one road. And you'll know when you see it. If you happen to have a drone with you, it's a great place to get aerial shots of the reflection, because the higher you go, the better the reflection looks. And I did really well there. And so I highly recommend it. Next up, we're going to do a little photo walk in Midway. Midway is a Swiss village established in the 1850s. Swiss settlers came over and built houses the way that they're built back in Switzerland. And the amazing thing is that you can stand on the corner of Main and Center Street, and you can see 3 great 1850s Swiss homes on 3 of the 4 corners. They look great in photos. For me, they look best in the evening. That's when I got my best shots. And if you wander through the side streets, you will see more beautifully restored homes and businesses. Right there on Main Street, you got the Edelweiss Art Gallery and Pierce Cabinet, which are 2 great examples of the old architecture. And just walk up and down the street. I'm not going to give you a route because it's just self-guided. Just walk north, walk south, just walk all around. There's a lot of great farms in the area, barns. I think you'll have a great time there. Take a drive up the road, probably about a mile, to the Zermatt and Homestead resorts. The Zermatt is Swiss-themed architecture built in 2006, so it doesn't go back. Homestead goes back to 1891. Both are must-visits, and photo ops here would include the Homestead Golf Course and the Utah Crater, which I'll talk about a little bit more. You could also have a great lunch at the 1888 Cafe, which is on the golf course. It's just a great place to sit and look out at the green grass of the summer, which is my favorite time to visit the Heber Valley. The geothermal hot spring known as the Utah Crater is great for swimming in hot water and scuba diving. The beehive-shaped limestone rock encases a warm water spring, perfect for a unique underwater photography experience. But you won't go very far down underwater because you'll be wearing a life vest unless you take scuba lessons. However, I got some really nice shots underwater and just a lot of splashing and things like that with my iPhone and the GoPro and the Insta360. All three of them are, well, I'm sorry, the iPhone is water resistant. The other two cameras are waterproof as long as you don't take them down too low. Apple will tell you not to get your iPhone wet, not to dunk it in the water, that it'll break the warranty. But I'm telling you, if you've watched any of my videos on YouTube about swimming with the iPhone, it's not a problem. You can certainly go a few feet into the drink and get it damp and splash on it and things like that. Afterwards, dry off, get yourself something to eat at the homestead, and then head to Memorial Hill for panoramic views of Heber Valley. Now, this is this great spot. You will drive up and you'll go round and round and round and round and round until you get to the top, and you will have 360 views from Provo, Heber, Midway, all over. You can see the entire valley from up there, and it's really a great spot just to view. If you're into time-lapse photography and shooting Mount Temp, if you've got a bunch of great big clouds up there, you'll get a great shot. Unfortunately, when I went up, the clouds went away, but I did get a cool shot of the valley with the shadows playing across the landscape. Right down the street from Memorial Hill on River Road is the Heber Valley Artisan Cheese. It's an old farm. It's like 100 years old that has now been opened up to tourists. And you can taste what fresh cheese and milk is like and take a tour of the farm. For an extra sensory delight, try a homemade grilled cheese sandwich right there on the premises with fresh cheese. How cool is that? On your second day, or your first day, it's up to you. But now I want you to explore Heber City. Heber City is an area that is reminiscent of the 1950s with its old brick buildings and iconic bowling alley where, speaking of grilled cheese, you can still buy one for under $5. The Heber Valley Visitor Center is directly next door to the Holiday Lanes, the bowling alley, and it's a great place to pick up maps and tips on where to go. If you want something that's not a grilled cheese sandwich, try the Bagel Den. That's directly across from the Visitor Center. It imports water from New York to make authentic tasting Gotham-style bagels, and they're really good. Now, I grew up in New York. I live in Los Angeles. I know where great bagels are, and the Bagel Den is just as good. Just as good. I really like them. The big attraction in Heber is the Heber Valley Railroad. You can take a nostalgic 90-minute train ride through the backcountry, enjoying energetic singing and dancing along the way. Not by you, but, well, I mean, you could. You could do some singing. You'll definitely be asked to do some dancing. You can capture some scenic views from the train windows. The Heber Valley Railroad used to be called the Creeper. It's very slow. It doesn't go very far. But it's fun, and it shows you can see some great scenery from out there, and they do a really good old-timey job on the train. For lunch, got to go to my favorite spot in Heber, which is the Dairy King. So this place has been open for nearly 75 years. It's a local favorite. It's known for its 150 varieties of delicious milkshakes. You can try unique flavors like raspberry lemon or chocolate-covered strawberry, and they're about as photogenic as they are tasty. Oreo is the most popular. If you watch the video, and I hope you do, I interviewed Jan, who's one of the three siblings who are running the place, fourth generation, and she told me that on Memorial Day, she sold 1,600 milkshakes. Do you believe it? That's a lot of milkshakes. Many locals will ponder the question, Dairy King or Granny's, because Granny's also has 100-plus milkshakes. Both are great. It's all subjective. Dairy Queen is the home of the train, and they have a little choo-choo going all around. It's always crowded, and it's always great, and it's very affordable. In the video, I had myself a chocolate-covered strawberry shake and an Oreo mint shake. I had two for professional purposes, of course. In the afternoon, I want to encourage you to stop by the E-Power Bike and Board. You can rent an e-bike here for a leisurely ride through the back roads of Heber, where you will encounter many farm animals, cows, horses, chickens, you name it, and they like to pose for photos. I especially like the view of Mount Temp from 1200 south, 3600 east. Ride your bike out there and be awed. Where to stay? You've got the Zermatt and the Homestead Resorts in Midway. They've got the most rooms in the area, over 400 combined. Heber City has several smaller hotels, including the Holiday Inn Express and a Best Western, and the Swiss Alps Inn, which is owned by the family from the Dairy Queen. Beyond the Bagel Den, Dairy Queen, Granny's, and Holiday Lanes, Back 40 is a former roadside bar that's been upgraded, and it's considered one of the best in Heber, while Don Pedro's has excellent Mexican food. Chick's is an old-fashioned diner known for its chicken fried steak, and The Hub is a family-owned classic that's been serving great food since 1966. Now, I just told you about what to do in Heber. How would you like to go back with me into time, and I will tell you about how I came to know all about Heber City. It's my personal story. So, once upon a time, I was sent by USA Today to profile a company in Salt Lake City that designed roller coasters, and while there, I was encouraged to take a drive down to Park City and look around, and I did just that. My wife was in the car, and my son Sam was in the car. But we kept going down Route 189, and we ended up in what is now known as the Heber Valley. We found a cool place to stay in nearby Midway, the historic family-friendly resort called the Homestead. We fell in love with at that time they had 2 pools, fell in love with the homemade fudge and the scenery, majestic, snow-capped, 11,752 feet, Mount Timpanogos, or I should say foot. Mount Temp looks down at you from everywhere you stand. You can see it as far south as 60 miles away. So we returned a few times to the homestead where on one of those visits we rented bikes, and we ended up going all the way to Heber, some 3 miles away, and we ended up on a back road at 1200 south, 2400 east, which is how streets are named in Utah. There we saw a for sale sign advertising 4.5 acres for $20,000. And it wasn't just any bland 4.5 acres, but one with that incredible view of Mount Temp that I mentioned. I could just imagine an incredible log home sitting on what would be the Graham family compound with Mount Temp in the background. So originally, I thought we'd put a trailer on the property for a while. Then I discovered that we could actually have a vacation log home built from a kit for under $100,000. So we did. A local builder named Harold Raymond did it for us. He built us a 2,400 square foot home with 4 bedrooms, 2 stories, and an unfinished basement, which was way bigger than we had back home in Manhattan Beach. Our plan was to visit on holidays and extended vacations. We wanted a vacation home locally, but it wasn't affordable. However, with the low cost then of airfares, Morris Air, remember them? And what it cost to build a log cabin, we could make it work. I knew how great logs looked, but I didn't realize that logs had this nasty habit of attracting flies, wasps, and other winged things that like to fly in between the logs once they smelled food, and it was rough. You could go in there and pull out a piece of bread, make some toast, and they'd all come to say hello. Still, we went there for every holiday, and I would spend the entire month of August there. Working remotely before anybody knew what the term meant. I was covering TV at the time for USA Today, and somehow I actually found shows to visit during my time there in Heber and Salt Lake and Provo and places like that. Shows like Touched by an Angel, or a TNT movie with Charlton Heston about the life of Brigham Young that was filming right down the street. It was amazing. My favorite season there was summer, taking long bike rides down the back roads and ending up at the Dairy King, the greasy spoon in the heart of Heber, the home of 150 varieties of shakes. They even had one of my articles framed and hanging up there for years. I bought a swimming pass at the homestead. I spent many, many days and nights there in the pool. In the Heber Valley, we did every activity you could name, from boating in Deer Creek to attending the rodeo in nearby Camas and haunted houses in Provo, and spending lots of time in nearby Park City. I'm not a fan of skiing, but we did some of that as well in Park City and Sundance. But by 2004, my wife Ruth got bored with going to the same place all the time, and my son Sam had no interest in joining us, so I reluctantly put the house up for sale. Visits to Scotland, France, Italy, Switzerland, British Columbia, and all over the American West, those locations took Heber's place. And even though I always wanted to come back for a return visit, it just never worked out until 2023. My love of the area, both Heber and Park City, was instantly awakened. The place was actually more beautiful than I indeed remembered, even though both had changed a lot. The Heber population has nearly quadrupled since our time, from 5,000 to just under 20,000. Heber's rural small markets are now giant chain stores. The tiny hardware shop closed. A Walmart opened on the edge of town. There's that bagel shop that I mentioned with amazing bagels. Large areas that have been wide open fields are now littered with cookie cutter homes and fast food restaurants. But Mount Temp still towers over everything. The grass is greener and brighter than I remember it. The cows are friendlier, and Dairy King is still churning out those amazing shakes. On my return visit in 2024, with my Ptg&x camera eye focused on both Heber and Midway, I found a new appreciation for both, but especially the tiny Swiss town. Now, yes, it's a little bigger now, but it's kept its heritage intact with 150-year-old homes built by those Swiss settlers that I mentioned, those open fields and views, and views. Park City, however, has seen even more massive growth, to the point where local officials now have free city buses driving all over town, encouraging people not to drive due to the jams. Text a number and you can find out how soon the bus will arrive for you, usually, amazingly, within minutes. However, Park City still has miles and miles of amazing trails for biking, hiking, and such that get you off the beaten path. One of the highlights of the summer for me was riding an e-bike down the Carless Rail Trail. Fun stuff, and again, those country views. So yeah, Park City is still a special place too. I hope to capture my love of the area in both the Heber and Park City episodes. If you haven't been there before, or even if you have, I encourage you to check them out, especially in the summer. I personally hope to make it back at least once a year from now on. Heber, Midway, and Park City, I love you just as much today as I did yesterday, if not more. I'm Jefferson Graham. You've been listening to the Ptg&x TV podcast. Let me hear from you. Ptg&xtv@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, the newsletter. If you're not subscribed already, jeffersongraham.substack.com. And I will look forward to seeing you all on the next Photo